I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Welcome back to the Millennial Classics Show. My name is Q, and on this show, we talk about the best and most memorable movies, books, and culture-changing events from our generation. We are doing books today, but a special set of books, and I'm doing it with a special guest. Jamie, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Thank you very much for doing this. I think it's very, very nice of you. We are doing children's books. You could probably tell by the title. But Jamie, can you tell the folks who are you and why children's books?
I do a channel on book reviews, and it didn't really start as children's books, but it happened to go in that direction because I'm a homeschool mom and I read a lot of children's books like all the time. It just went in that direction. I'm always reading the books, so I thought, hey, other people might want to know what these are about, if they're worth reading. So I made a channel based off of that.
That's amazing. You're a homeschool teacher. It makes so much sense that you do children's book reviews. But yeah, we are doing 4 books. Which one would you like to start with, Jamie?
I guess Green Eggs and Ham, since I'm holding it. I love Dr. Seuss books. I grew up on them. They were some of the first books that I ever read. But this one is definitely a classic, Green Eggs and Ham. I think when people think of Dr. Seuss, they think Green Eggs and Ham, if not Cat in the Hat, which is another book we're going to be doing. But I love the rhyme scheme in this book and how it gets progressively harder. So like at the beginning, you're like, oh, I can read this, and then each page gets successively harder and like more of a tongue twister. And everyone is familiar with Dr. Seuss illustrations.
They're the funnest. I think his illustrations, I think his rhyme scheme, I think the way he makes up words, I think he's like the most fun author. Does Dr. Seuss do his own illustrations, or is it someone that works with Dr. Seuss? Do you know?
I always understood that he did. Like, even if you look at this book, it says Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss.
I don't want to say it's a sign of true genius, but it's like really creative genius. Like the Dr. Seuss books, they slap. They're just amazing. They're just good.
I remember when I was a kid, we actually read the book in school, and then we had Green Eggs and Ham. It was so weird, but it was so fun.
I'm gushing over Dr. Seuss because Dr. Seuss really was one of those authors that made reading seem fun as a kid for me. I have to be honest, growing up, I didn't grow up in a house where books were all over the place. The books that were around weren't big people books. It didn't seem like this was meant for me. So my picture of books and my understanding of books is that it was a thing that you did in school. My love for reading definitely grew when I was much more older. And because I saw books that way, when I got my hands on Dr. Seuss, and I can't remember the details of the book or whatever, I remember thinking for the first time, books can be fun. It just slaps you in the face, and like that's the sense I get from the Dr. Seuss books, and I fell in love with them right away. And then you grow from there. And then I got into Captain Underpants, and I was like, oh my goodness, like it really can be fun. But specifically, Green Eggs and Ham. Do you think there's an age recommendation specifically?
What's cool about being a homeschool mom is the curriculum I use assigns books to teach them to read, and they use Dr. Seuss books to teach kids to read. So with our curriculum, I think towards the end of first grade, going into second grade is when we start reading Dr. Seuss. The books are they're like 60 pages long. As a kid, they didn't seem that long. But then when I'm reading it with my kid who's like learning to read, so it's more of a struggle, I'm like, I don't remember these books being so long. Because you don't notice it when you're a kid. Really it's so good.
That's such a good point. That definitely adds to it because you don't even know how much you're reading when you're reading it as a kid because you're just like, I love these rhymes. I love these crazy pictures. In your reading curriculum, have you gotten to the point where they stopped recommending Dr. Seuss books? Because if you're saying the beginning the middle or the end of first grade, that's like 6, 7-ish. When do you see in your curriculum they stop recommending Dr. Seuss?
I would probably say third grade, but I mean, really, kids can read them up until whenever. But second grade, the end of first grade into second grade is really when you can introduce kids to it. If they're really good readers, you can before that, just whenever they're ready. But I'd say around second grade is a good grade to start with Dr. Seuss books.
Do you think there are specific lessons in the book, The Green Eggs and Ham? Something that we want our kids to understand reading Green Eggs and Ham?
I think the biggest lesson in this book is to not be afraid to try new things. Because the character, I don't know what animals these things are. The character, he'd never had it before. And this guy is trying to get him to try it. And the whole book, he's like, I won't try it, even if you did all these different things. And then at the end of the book, he finally does try it, and he finds out that he loves Green Eggs and Ham. So the big push, I think, of the book is don't be afraid to try new things. You never know. You never know if you're going to like it or not. You might as well try it.
No, I love it. And you're right, because you are talking to first graders, and that is such a good, great message to give to a first grader. You do want to try new things, even if it is green eggs and ham. We didn't do this specifically for green eggs and ham, and maybe we can talk about it now. I always do ask this question because even like as a kid, number one, I love looking at the book covers, and that's a big selling point for me. And number two, even as an adult, I can't lie, I do judge a lot of books by its cover. So I like to ask when I do my book reviews, what are your thoughts on the cover, The Cat in the Hat?
I mean, it's self-explanatory.
Yes, it is.
There he is, the cat in the hat. You know what you're getting. It's kind of like, why is he so important? What's so interesting? What's going to be interesting about the cat in the hat?
I think nowadays maybe you might see people's cats and you dress them up and stuff, but the cat in the hat, who is this person? And why does the cat have a hat? It's very self-explanatory. It's simple enough.
Your analysis was like, as a person who didn't know Dr. Seuss, and I like came at it as a person who's like, of course the cat has a hat, you know? Of course he does stuff in this book.
That's a really good point too. Yes, yes. If you don't know, Cats in the Hats is wild, but if you know Dr. Seuss, you're like, it's just another day.
I have beef with this book. It's a great book, but I am like a type A personality. So I hated thing 1 and thing 2 as a kid. I was like, they're messing up the house. I'm going to get in trouble. But the story of the book is simply, it's a rainy day outside and the kids can't go outside and play, and their mom is out. I don't know if she's shopping or if she's at work. I don't know what she's doing. But all of a sudden, the Cat in the Hat comes in.
Woo!
And he provides like all these games for the kids to play, and it just gets out of control. They wreck the house, and the kids the whole time are like, should we be doing this, you know? And it just gets worse and worse until, like I mentioned, the cat brings in thing 1 and thing 2, and they destroy the house even more than the cat did. As a kid, I was like, It's another rhyming one. Green Eggs and Ham has more of a like flow to it. Cat in the Hat, definitely. I think it's more difficult than Green Eggs and Ham, actually. And it's longer. Like there's more, the sentences are longer. The words on the pages are more. And since it doesn't have that flow from Green Eggs and Ham, I think it might be a little more difficult for kids.
I think there's more of a story. I think Green Eggs and Ham, once you understand like the first 2 pages, one character is refusing, the other character is offering, you get the rest of the book, right? But the Cat in the Hat, you have to understand the situation, you have to understand the context, you can't go outside, all of these things. It's like a real story, and you kind of have to follow it along. When you said you were type A, do you like the fish? Do you feel like the fish is speaking the truth in this book?
Yes. I'm like, he knows what's going on.
That's perfect, because like the lesson or the thing that I think that Dr. Seuss is trying to mention here is, you know, you can be imaginative and creative and you can have fun even when it is rainy days, but reading it as a parent, I don't know if I want my kids to be trashing the house when I go to the store and grab the groceries. I don't know. Like, I do agree with the fish as a parent, but as a kid, I think it is a great fun book to have a good day and try to have as much fun as possible without destroying the house.
As far as lesson, at the very end of the book, the older brother finally stands up to the cat. So you can see him there. He's got a net and he's getting thing 1 and thing 2. Know when to put your foot down and say, hey, enough's enough, you know? You're not going to take advantage of me or my little sister, and we're not playing your games anymore. Let's stop doing this. It was a difficult situation for the kids and for the little brother to finally be like, no, we're done. I think there's a lesson there somewhere.
See, this is why I need to do these reviews with other people, because I'm just looking at it as the kids are having fun, let them let loose. But you're right. At the climax of the book, you see the mom walking down and they have to start cleaning up. But before they start cleaning up, they have to catch thing 1 and 2 because those are the crazy ones messing everything up. The kids have to make a decision. And I would say they made the right decision. Enough is enough. I think you said it perfectly. I love that you mentioned that because I don't even see that. And I've read this book maybe 30 times already this year to the little ones. And like, yeah, that is the big decision making. All right. That's the Cat in the Hat, y'all. Dr. Seuss number 3. You can tell I have a thing for Dr. Seuss. Oh, the places you'll go.
This book, I'm actually not as familiar with as the others. I didn't read this book until I was an adult. I got it because it's my husband's favorite Dr. Seuss book.
Your husband is a smart man. In fact, this is also my favorite Dr. Seuss book. I want to shout out to my science teacher in high school. I didn't know this until growing up, and I thought he was the coolest teacher ever because he read this to us when we were graduating high school. As an adult, I'm like, everyone gives this gift as a graduation present because it speaks so well at the idea of breaking through and becoming someone else and doing the new thing, right? But I did want to just kudos to your husband. He's smart. He's a good man. He's a good man because I love this book. I love this book. It's my favorite Dr. Seuss book.
The gist of the book is telling someone to get out there and go. That really is the big push of the book. And if you look at the illustrations all throughout the book, this little guy down here, he's going to all these different places. Like there's like monsters going on here and just totally different hot air balloon, but all these crazy different places that you're going to go. The part about the book that I like the most is that it says you will succeed or you won't. Like it's telling you, don't be afraid to fail. Go out there and do it, and it's going to be great, but you're going to fail, and that's okay.
Yes, just yes, because it is telling you the big wide world is all of these options. I love when he talks about the waiting place, and then you just think like, a lot of your day, a lot of your life is just waiting. So just expect to be waiting. Yes, there's times where you get through the waiting place and then you get to do the exciting thing, but waiting is part of life. And he talks about the waiting, and it's okay because that's life. And when you lose, it's going to be tough, but you'll come out the other side. It makes sense that you'll give it to someone when they graduate. And like, I think all of the Dr. Seuss books, for the most part, I think you can start it in like second grade, like you were saying, end of first grade, second grade. Like you hearing me gushing over it, you can read these books until the day you die, and that's still not enough because they're just so good. And Dr. Seuss has just done magical things with these children's books.
Yeah, we have a collection of Dr. Seuss books. My mom sent me a bunch from when I was a kid, and we bought new ones, and we just want to have them. You know, they're just great books to just have. And
they really are.
Like I said, my kids learn to read off of them, and they've got great lessons for adults even. They're just good books. Great author.
He is. And before we leave Dr. Seuss, we know your husband's favorite. Do you have a favorite Dr. Seuss book?
Probably Fox and Socks.
Oh.
That is such a tongue twister. And I even saw it was a reel or something where this guy was like rapping Fox and Socks, and it was the greatest thing ever.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Let's do the Giving
Great idea. The Giving Tree, the cover. What are your thoughts?
It leaves a lot to wonder. Like, you know, you're like, the Giving Tree, you know, he gives. He's given to the little boy. But I feel like the story is so much more than what the cover shows.
Because it's a children's book, you expect it to be super simple. Oh, the tree gives, and like that's what you think the book's going to be about. But the minute you open the book and start to read the words, you're like, that cover was lying to me. There's a lot more to this. There's a lot more to this.
This is another one that I picked up as an adult. I always heard people talking about the Giving Tree. And I finally saw it in the library. They have like a section where you can buy books. And I'm like, oh, you know, the Giving Tree. So I bought it, took it home, read it, and I'm like, what was that? What was that? I was actually excited to get your thoughts on it because I'm like, I finished the book and was like,
Yep. I don't remember my emotional awareness when I was a kid, but this book is super emotional. It's super deep. And dare I say, it's kind of sad. I mean, it just, it's very sad, but not like sad, horrible sad. I don't know. It's like the kind of sad that humans feel and that you want your kid to be aware of, but I don't know if kids are that emotionally aware. I feel like this book is like a fable for adults.
The illustrations in this one are super simple. Yes, they're all black and white, and the tree loved a little boy. At the beginning, the little boy also loves the tree, but as the little boy gets older, he gets more selfish, dare I say, but he wants the leaves of the tree, and then he wants the branches of the tree, and just the tree keeps letting him have all of itself, and then it just sits there and hopes that the boy comes and visits it. I guess we're doing spoilers in this review.
Yes, we are 100%.
The kid taking the tree, and all that's left is the stump. And the book ends where years and years and years later, the boy comes back as an old man, and he and the tree sit together.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends. I don't know. The meaning of that is what's that supposed to mean? Like, is it imagery for like the tree being the parent and you give everything to your kid? Because it seems kind of ridiculous that the tree gave everything to the kid and the kid didn't even like back until the very, very end when he kind of was forced to. He didn't have anything else.
It is really, really sad. And if you do look at yourself as a tree, which every parent reading this book obviously does, but if for just a second you see yourself as the kid, this is a tree we're talking about. The kid obviously has a huge life. The frame of this book is just the tree. And whenever the boy comes back to see the tree. But if we were to take 5 seconds and look at the kid's life, of course the kid has to go to school. Of course the kid's going to grow up. Of course, in the book, at some point, the kid's like, I don't want to hang out here and play. I want to have a home and have a wife and have kids. And then the tree's like, you can take my branches and go build your house. If you just for a second look at this book from the kid's version, then of course the kid is doing what any kid would do, what any human would do. What kind of book would it be if the kid stayed out all day until he died and just played at the tree and ate the apple? That's an insane life to live, and who wants that for their kid? At the end of the book, it's just the stump and the old man is sitting on the stump. It says both of them are happy. And who am I? The author is saying that the tree is happy. I believe it. I do believe it, because as a parent, your kid is going to leave to do bigger and better things. And if at the end of your life, your kid is sitting at your bedside, why isn't that a great life? That's what I want to believe this book is, because that's the only way I see any positivity from this book. Because if I look at it any other way, it does make me sob, because I'm like, don't leave me, kid. I love you, so yeah, that's my rant about this book.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the new perspective, because I'm reading this going, I don't know, but it does make sense, like an actual kid would go out and have a life, it's not just in the confines of this book. That's a good perspective.
That's the kind of sadness I was talking about. Like, I don't know if any kid would understand that. And it took me a very long time to understand this book. So this is one of those trickier books where I feel like it really is for adults. Do you have a recommendation for kids' age, or would you just be like, maybe just wait till you're an adult?
I think it's fun for kids to read anyway.
Yeah.
The illustrations are whimsical, and you got the story of a kid who gets a lot of fun and a lot of life out of the tree. So maybe if I was a kid reading this, because I didn't read it as a kid, but maybe if I was a kid reading it, I'd be like, man, what a cool tree.
Yeah, the tree loves to share. And that's also not a horrible lesson to take from the book.
Maybe third grade, second or third grade. There are some pages where you got a lot going on.
And the pictures aren't descriptive. The pictures are very bland, as you say, whimsical, but very simple. All of that's going on has to happen in the kid's head. So I think like second, third grade makes sense. The words are simple, right? It's not like a difficult thing to read. It's the emotions and the understanding. Is that what I keep coming back to?
Understanding wise, maybe like fifth grade.
Yeah.
Like fifth or sixth grade or up. But like just to read it for fun, third grade.
And then ending off on one of my favorite books, my son is 2 years old. There aren't many books that I can read to my son throughout the whole thing. He gets up immediately and is running all over the place. The only way I can have him to sit down to read a book is when I'm acting out all of the characters and making all the weird noises, so he wants to see what I'm doing. This is one of the very few books that I've been able to read to my son from, I would say, day one. I mean, it's definitely one of the go-to. I probably have read this book more than any book we own in the house. That's why doing my children's book review with Jamie, I was like, we have to do this book. I love this book. And it is Love You Forever by Robert Munsch. Love You Forever. Jamie, what do you think about the cover?
It says it all. It definitely tells the story of the book. You're going to be talking about childhood and kids here, but that's what childhood is, isn't it? Craziness.
I definitely have to agree.
Oh my goodness, this is a very emotional book. I read it as a kid and lost track of it. I remember it being beat up because I read it so much, and then I found it as an adult, and when I found it I was like, I had to buy that. So this one is in better condition than the book I had as a kid. But it starts out a young mom with her baby, and she always sings this song, I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. And then the book is the baby growing up, and how the mom, even as the baby's growing up, she always finds a way to come to his room at night and sing that song to him about how he'll always be her baby no matter how old he gets. And then you have crazy teenagers, him as an adult. And then at the very end of the book, that makes everybody depressed and sad. She's dying. And she tries to sing him the song, but she can't finish it. So he picks her up and sings her the song, but says, "My mommy you'll be," at the very end. And the book ends with him continuing the tradition and singing the song to his baby. It's just like, oh,
Right.
like rip your heart out. So sweet and so heartwarming. And it always just makes me very sad, but happy at the same time. It's very sweet.
It really, really is lovely. And I know you mentioned, for anyone who hasn't read the book, she mentions the mom ends up being sick because she ends up passing away. Obviously, it doesn't get into those kind of details, and you get it as an adult, but like, it's not something noticeable. I don't know. Have any of your older kids mentioned the actual dying aspect? Because that's never once happened to me. Any of your kids been like, "Mom, does the mom in the book die?" Like, has that been a topic that has come up while reading this book?
Not this book specifically, but my kids do ask about death, and it makes for some interesting conversations. It's just a hard thing to talk about with kids.
It really is, but I was just trying to get to the point where, like, it doesn't focus, the book doesn't focus on that. Obviously, it's about the mom loving the kid. It is so beautiful. And I did say it is my favorite book because it is my favorite book. I think this book specifically, it's like a big hug to parents, because all parents want to do is love their kid forever. So reading this book, it's like, yes, this is what I feel. So it's my favorite parent book to read to my son. His favorite book is In the Itsy Bitsy Spider. I'm not going to review that because it's a silly book, all right? But whatever. He loves it, and I love that he loves it. But this is such a great book to give to new parents. Like, they will just love this book so much, because when the kid's too little to understand much and you can just read this book over and over, my son is at the point where he knows the rhyme of the song that the mom sings. So we sing that together, we play it out. And I think the recommended age this book would be for new parents, for kids who are like toddlers, infants, just you can read to them.
It's more of a book that you read to your kid, especially with every page having the huge picture. It's something that you hold them on your lap and you're reading this book to them. I mean, of course, I'm sure some kids will pick it up and thumb through it and read it, but it just seems like it was written as something that a parent would read to their kid.
Any lessons, any ideas, any themes in the book that we haven't touched upon?
The unconditional love you can see, because through every stage of the difficult life of a child, the mom is still coming back, even after the house is trashed or after he's been loud all day or been gone all day. She still comes. There's an unconditional love there on the parents' part. And then the son at the end realizes that unconditional love, and he turns around and gives it to his child. So maybe how we as parents model stuff to our kids, they will take that to the next generation.
It not could be one. I think it is the one, because you're so right, Jamie. Thank you for doing these with me. I love that you said that, because that is what I feel, right? People think of love as a feeling, but it's not. Love is an action. Love is what you do. And this mom, every day, it doesn't matter the stage of the life, every time through all of these bad things, the mom comes into the room, holds him tight, and tells him, "I'm gonna love you forever." And I'm not telling you while you're awake, I'm telling you while you're asleep, just so you can feel the love, not so you can just hear the love. He knows love to be holding someone, telling them that they love him, and being there for that person. So he does it for his daughter. There's nothing more you can ask. Like, the best thing I want for my kid is for my kid to be a good parent. The fact that that's the last page, you're like, just kudos, greatness. It's just the best. It's just the best. What else do you want in a book?
Perfect way to end this book.
I had a couple of questions for you, just general questions. Are you okay if I ask?
Yeah. Go for it.
So, you having 4 kids, what is your experience? And I know it must be very, very different as someone who does homeschooling, but what is your experience for trying to get books in the hands of your kids? Because like I was telling you in the beginning, for me, for a very long time, books were work. Are any of you kids already enjoying the process of reading on their free time? And how did you get that to be a thing? That's like the biggest thing for me. I want my kids to want to read and not see it the way I saw it.
There are books that we read that are work because we're teaching them greater reading comprehension, but we also encourage read whatever you want. Like, I don't care if you're 12 years old and you want to read a first grade level book. whatever you want. They love Dogman. I don't know if are you familiar with Dogman?
I know of it. Yes, I see it everywhere in the bookstores and at the library and stuff.
And it's so funny because in each book they are looking for the lesson. Like they're reading the book, they're looking for the lesson, and they even told me, they're like, Mom, don't even read the first 2 books because there's not even a lesson. There's no. They said the 3rd book on, there's a lesson every book, but the first 2. I'm like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. But they love investigators. So I guess they're into comics. They love comic books. One of my boys is really into Calvin and Hobbes. Yeah, we have chapter books for the older kids that we read every single day. It's not their favorite thing to do, but it's what we do to teach them. And outside of that, we let them read whatever they want because we want to encourage the joy of reading.
You make it sound very simple. I don't know how structured all of this is.
It's not simple.
Obviously, you have to separate, I'm your homeschool teacher now versus I'm mom, and like, let's just chill. Have you gotten to the point with any of the kids, and I don't need to know details, but like where they're not reading at all outside of the homework or of reading the chapter book every day? Do you push books on them at that point, or is it like, okay, this is just a period of their life where they're not into books? Is that something that you care about?
If they're not choosing something outside of what we're reading together, we don't push it on them. Okay. Because inevitably they pick something up. Sometimes it's like they're in between books, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just something they enjoy. They enjoy the stories and the lessons. And we read a lot within school that we don't push it outside of school because they find it on their own. We also have a pretty big library of children's books. So it always makes my heart glad when I'll see them pulling books out. They're already pulling the Halloween books out. They've got like, this morning I walked through and they had like all of them just strewn on the carpet. I'm like, it's only August, you guys.
And then on the flip side of this, just a little bit, the amount of research and understanding that you must have went through or needed to do this successfully must have been a lot. And I always think, how do teachers do it? How are they teaching all of the important things my kid needs to know? I know like a quarter of the things that I learned when I was in school. I don't know if I'd be able to do that for my kid. How do you go through the process of knowing you are doing what's necessary for your kids as a homeschool mom?
Well, just like anything new that you're starting, there's a learning curve. You do it, you start it. Doing videos, you had to start somewhere and you get better as you go along. And with me, we started homeschool with my oldest right away, but it took us like 3 years to finish his first year because it took me so long to get into it. But the cool thing about homeschooling is, especially when you start them young, it's really easy at the beginning because it's not hard to teach a kindergartner, you know. Yeah. And as it gets harder, you're getting better at teaching. As the difficulty level goes up, your capability is going up along with it. And a big thing is knowing that you don't have to check all the boxes in one day. Like there's another day you can come back to it, and stressing yourself out and getting mad at the kids, it's just not worth it. But coming back to it and moving at your own pace, you'll get more done because you're willing and you're enjoying it more than it being a chore.
How do you know your kids are getting what they need? Is there an objective way of testing your kids compared to kids who are in public school?
Depending on what state you're in, there's different requirements. Where I am, there's not a lot of requirements. I just have to register our school as a school. I don't think it's until high school where that you actually have to turn in the requirements for your kid. And obviously we have the final say, but at least we have a guideline so we know what we should be teaching. And the cool thing is, as you progress and get better at being a homeschool teacher, is you're more comfortable going off of what the curriculum says. Like, oh, they say we should read this. Actually, I kind of want to read this over here. Becomes a lot more fun as a teacher even to try your own things.
And who knows your kids better than you? I so badly want to try it because I think it's amazing. I think if I do a good job, it would be a great job.
I think it'd be good.
You giving me confidence, and I'm thinking about it just a little bit more realistically now. Last thing before I let you go, do you guys do the same school year schedule? Do you give your kids summers off? Because I think that's also another pro about homeschooling. It's your life schedule. right?
Mhm.
There's no, this is our vacation time. We go on vacation when we go on vacation.
No, we don't really go by the school schedule, but we do have a bit of a summer break, and we take advantage of the flexibility because sometimes, you want to go visit family
Yep.
randomly. It just depends on the family.
It sounds lovely. Jamie, it was an absolute pleasure. Before you go, you want to tell the folks, what is the name of your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is just called Jamie Reads, Jamey Reads, Reads. I was just thinking, would it be really bad if I misspelled that right now? And it's mostly kids books, but I also do classics. I got Sherlock Holmes on there. I'm about to finish Jane Eyre. Oh, I just did The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Oh,
This is a really good one. It's like an old
yes.
horror book. It's awesome. I love it.
I love
That's
that you
on
think
there.
of it as a horror book. Yeah, yeah.
It's just kind of creepy.
It's like poetry without being poetry. But yeah, Jamie, the link is going to be in the description box below. You guys, please go check her out. The reason I had her on is because I love the way she describes books, the way she reviews her books. Please go check her out. And until next time.